Hi, and welcome to the White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. My name is Josh Baczynski, and I'm here all alone, all by myself. Clint was supposed to join us today, but his power's been fluctuating on and off, so I don't know if he's gone or if he's doing Black Hat things. Who knows what he's doing? So I'm going to just start to hang out because I have another meeting I have to go to. So I'm going to start the show today and just be me and the dinosaurs. It'll just be me, just like the old SEO hangouts I used to do. Where I would ramble all by myself, all by myself, just like the song goes. So if you're watching the show for the first time, this is a show about white hat and black hat SEO. Sometimes we debate what is better, white hat and black hat SEO. Sometimes, all the time, actually, we give the best SEO tips, the best SEO experiences, the best SEO experiments, the best SEO leaks out of Google for both white hat and black hat SEO. What's going on? We have unparalleled ranking power abilities in terms of our contacts for black hat and white hat and our knowledge for white hat and black hat SEO. And so test us, ask us questions, and we will answer. Today, I'm going to be doing a site clinic for you guys. If you guys have sites you want me to do an SEO experiment, not experiment. I won't do any experiments on your sites. If you have a site you want me to do an SEO, really kind of mini SEO audit on, and want me to take a little bit of analysis and see what's going on with your site, by all means, put it in the chat. If you're watching this live on YouTube, the chat is on the right-hand side over there. Maybe you'll see it over there. Over there, maybe. Yeah, I think. Let me see. I'll watch my playback and see if I got the right side. And I did. I got the right side. Good. So ask your questions there. Put a few asterisks beside your SEO questions so I can answer them. I'm sure Clint will join us shortly, or maybe he's gone. Who knows? Who knows what happens? Maybe the dinosaurs ate him. Maybe he's trapped in the desert here. Who knows? So before we get to that, though, I have a couple of things I got to talk about. The first segment in the show usually is what's new in SEO. I have a couple of things that are new in white hat SEO I want to talk about, which connects directly to actually what someone has already asked in the chat. John Mueller, in a hangout recently in November, reminded us that Google tries to understand a website as a whole. So John Mueller is a Google employee. For those of you who don't know, he's one of the most popular Google employees. He does a SEO hangout every week. And pretty much every week. And he does leak some interesting stuff that is kind of interesting to think about and can shape your SEO game, and probably should shape your SEO game a little bit. And so somebody in the chat asked, should they still be running a blog? Our blog's good for 2018. What should they be doing? And he even mentioned that SEMrush gave him some kind of feedback or information, perhaps for him, suggesting that a blog would be a good thing to do because all of his competitors are running blogs, so maybe he should too. This is like when you had that argument with your parents, and they said, if everyone else was jumping off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? And just to be a jerk, you said yes. And they were like, bah, and they freaked out. Anyway, enough of my childhood. So here's my answer, is that just because SEMrush is saying that people are running blogs and they're getting success that way, doesn't mean you should try to do the same thing. In fact, given the fact that a lot of your competitors are already running blogs, I'd say the blog space for your niche is already pretty much filled, isn't it? That could be a reason why not to run a blog. This leak from John Mueller actually very clearly kind of explains why it is you don't want to do that. Because Google tries to understand the website, and I quote, as a whole. So if you only have 20 pages selling your product and 300 blog pages, Google is going to naturally assume, well, this is a blog site, I should be ranking them for information-related queries. Remember the sales funnel? It's also the search funnel, right? At the top, there's information queries. What are red apples? Then in the middle, there's no-do queries where they want to know and maybe buy, like, what are the best red apples? Maybe the credit card is close to being in hand. And then at the very laser end of the sales funnel / the search funnel is buy red apples. They obviously want to purchase red apples. They have their credit card in hand. They have their credit card like this in hand. Actually, this is a magic card. It's not a credit card, but they have their credit. Imagine it was a credit card. They have their credit card in hand. The credit card is called the Into Thin Air card. And they are going to buy it right away. So this changes your SEO game entirely. It depends where you want to rank. It depends what products you have. It depends what your competitors have, right? If there's a lot of competitors at the info stage, you might want to compete there a little bit, but it might be better to compete at the middle stage, the no-do stage, or the sales stage. So to answer the question, should you be running a blog? That's a very complex question that depends on your competition at all three levels, right? And what kind of product offerings you have and what kind of product offerings you have access to. and whether that lends itself better to being at the info stage, the no-do stage, or the do stage, the buy stage. So it's kind of a deeper business decision that I can't answer for you on air. If you email me some details, video base, I could maybe help you out. But quite frankly, that also ties into, and I'll go into the rant hand segment. This ties into a rant that I often have, which is, again, I think blogging is pretty much dead. I think it's been dead for a few years. Everybody has a blog. So the blogging space is taken up. Unless there's some really good reasons why you should be running a blog, like you're a photographer and you're a beautiful writer and you can do much better than these people, that tactic's kind of done. It's done to death. People run blogs, quite frankly, when they don't know what else to do. It's not going to help you rank your sales pages. It's not going to bleed any juice off to the pages. Not really. It's going to confuse Google into thinking you're an information site and not a sales site. If you want to get a bigger sites do rank better. But if you want to get a bigger site, you should hire Clint, who's been having trouble with his power. How you doing, Clint?
I'm doing better now.
Better now? Is your power going on and off?
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. When it goes out, it takes out Comcast, and then it takes Comcast forever to reset. So I had it, then it goes out, and I had it, and it goes out, and now we're finally back.
All right. Well, we know that if you leave suddenly, it's not what I said. Probably it's probably the power. Maybe it's what a little bit. 60-40, maybe 40% what I said, 60% the power. Maybe it's because you have this cool calendar. You have a Chinese calendar back there?
Yeah, the wife got that. She got that in Korea. The last time.
Oh, so it's a Korean calendar.
Yep.
Sweet. Mm-hmm. So it's Chinese New Year coming up, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I don't follow the Chinese.
Oh. I like Chinese food. I like kung fu. I have a black belt in 2 different kinds of kung fu. So I don't know. That's as Chinese as I get. So okay. So I just want to finish the point I was talking about. So the point I was making is that now again, Clint, now that you're here, you're free to disagree if you like. But again, I don't like blogs. I don't think people should be really running blogs unless you're in a very specific circumstance, like you're the best writer in the world and everyone knows you, or you're a great photographer and you can make a stellar blog, because they're kind of done to death. And I don't think your blog pages are going to help your product pages rank. And it all depends on whether or not you even want to compete at the blog level. And this is kind of stemming off a leak that John Mueller recently reminded us that Google tries to understand the website as a whole. And so most of the site is a blog site. They're going to try to rank you for information queries. Because a guy asked John Mueller, we seem to be an information site. We have a huge blog, and we're not ranking for any product queries. And I see this all the time, right? Most blog sites that I get sent to audit aren't ranking for the sales queries they want to rank for. They're ranking for a bunch of blog queries. And John Mueller said, he warned them. I'm paraphrasing. He basically said that, well, Google understands your site right now as a blog site, and you could delete that, but it's going to take a long time for us to reprocess you and rethink about you and realize that you're just a sales site, which is what he said. What do you think about that, Clint? Are you a big proponent for blogs?
I think John Mueller's an idiot.
1, 2.
Okay, so in that scenario that you just told me, what that tells me is that they are creating blog posts, just kind of going willy-nilly for no tact and purpose whatsoever. And then that their interlinking was probably all jacked up that didn't link to their product pages in the first place. So 99% of people that I see that are trying to do the whole blog thing are running into that. They're just writing because someone told them, hey, let's write every day or write consistently, whatever the hell that means,
right?
To them. And then you'll get results, which is the white hat mantra: create good content and people will link to you. Which is not the case. So I use blogs. I use blogs on pretty much all of my sites, even if the site or the business is not going to, it's not, realistically, a plumber is not going to blog. There's only so much that a plumber can blog about. But I use
so much shit they can talk about. Wah, wah.
But that shouldn't stop you as an SEO if you want to rank for Houston plumber to go to YouTube and find a video about how to use a plunger in your toilet. Those simple things that people aren't typically going to pay for anyway, and use that to boost up the relevancy for plumbing to that Houston plumber page. So that's what I use blogs for when it really just doesn't make sense to have a blog, quote unquote, a blog.
And you would use that as a tactic to rank for long tail?
I don't know. I wouldn't even honestly. If no one went to the blog page, I wouldn't care. I'm showing Google that I'm using the relevancy that we know of. Relevancy works towards ranking, right? So and it works on page with on page links, internal links, as much as it works with external links. Why not create my own content? Anyone who's done outreach for a plumber knows that just people aren't going to link to a plumber page.
Nope.
So you got to leverage that on your own. And then there's some black hat stuff that I'm not going to share, but maybe I will. But let's just say that if you create your internal links, internal links are filtering back some spam. I'm noticing that out. Don't go do this to your like money sites right now and think that it works and then trash your stuff. But if you have the right thing set up, 301s and some stuff like that, you can send spam to your internal links direct to your money page, and it'll rank the money page. It'll kill that other page completely. You'll never rank that one. So don't make some outstanding super content, but try that out.
Interesting. Okay.
On a test site. Don't do it on your money sites, please.
Don't do it on a test site. Yeah, do everything. Try everything on a test site first.
Yeah, exactly.
So that kind of reinforces my point, though, is that, as you said, most people are doing blogging wrong. To do it right requires either really enhanced white hat knowledge or really enhanced black hat knowledge, and you're not really even trying to rank for the long tail. Again, the goal is to rank for the product sales queries, presumably, again, depending on where you want to compete in the sales/search funnel.
Yeah, if you're a travel site, then have a travel blog. Let's go for it. Like, Google wants to see that kind of stuff. Your users want to see it, and then they're more likely to remember you when they buy your travel package.
It's possible. I mean, I just looked at a guy that we got a mini audit on this site contacted me for a full audit, which was great because the mini audits can only tell you so much, and the full audits tell you so much more. And he was a home inspector, and he had a home inspection blog, and the only pages that were ranking on his site, like so many sites I see, were like, how to do prices for Calgary home inspection. He had a page about the prices for Calgary home inspection. It was ranking, and I'm like, no, that's not too bad, because some people might see that, and when they buy a house later, they'll remember, oh yeah, right. Dennis Began, he did home inspection, so I'll get him to do my home inspection. They could come back. That could work that way.
Or they're farther down in the funnel. They're closer to the buying point. But the closer you get to the buying point, the less traffic you're going to get.
Right. Yeah, you can get for a local site, you get 10 searches a month, but you convert like 8 of them or 9 of them or something like that.
Yeah, then who cares?
Yeah, if you're doing it right. So it depends on what your service is. If your service, you only take 10 clients a month and that's all you need. So again, it all depends on the business. But I think the myth that, again, like you said, you should have this giant blog that it's like 3 or 4 or 500% more pages than all the other pages, and you're writing consistently. It's not going to magically help you rank. And there's many other SEO things you could do and probably should do before you decide to engage in a blog. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. If you're going to do a blog, you have to do it consistently, because one, your users are going to want to see it consistently, and two, it's just, it's a smart habit to get into. But if you're just creating internal pages to create relevancy for your money pages, then, write your 3 or 4 and knock it out, and then don't worry about it. You don't have to promote them or anything like that. They're there for relevancy.
Right. Okay. More new stuff that's going on. Moz recently has mentioned that they're not doing their ranking factor survey. And then Rand Fishkin is going to put one out on his own. I thought that was an interesting kind of exchange. It's obviously this is kind of an aside, but the culture between Moz and Rand Fishkin, which used to be like this, is definitely going like this. And so, I don't know, for people who've been in the industry for a long while, I thought that was kind of interesting, a little sad maybe. And last thing that was very interesting that I thought I'd mention is that John Gianandre leaked what AI, their artificial intelligence, they're working on next year. So John Gianandre is the CEO, the chief engineering engineer. The chief engineer. He's the Scotty. He's the main guy. He runs Google Search. John Gianandre. He's not the CEO, but he's the head of search at Google, and he was their head of AI. He still is. He's their head of AI and head of search. So if you ever have a question out there, I wonder if Google is going to be investing in AI. The answer is yes, because the head of AI is the head of search. And he mentioned in a video a couple months ago, he leaked what they're going to be working on for 2018. And I'll tell you what it was. He says the three main projects they're going to be working on that he expects they'll have out in 2018 was that one, getting Google to understand videos like a human being, getting Google to understand web pages like a human being, so reading it, not just looking for keywords, and fraud detection, quote unquote. So I think he was talking about fraud detection in terms of financial fraud detection, because of course Google is one of the lead companies in AI, if not the lead company in AI right now in the world, and they are parsing out their AI software and their philosophies and technologies across the board to many different verticals. So I think he was talking about financial fraud, but he could have been talking about any kind of fraud, voter fraud, perhaps even SEO fraud. If they can write an AI to find fraud in finances, what's to stop them from writing an AI to find fraud in search engine optimization techniques? He said ... question mark to Clint.
Oh, that's a lot. That's kind of hard to.
Yeah, let's speculate wildly now.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought it was interesting.
Honestly, I don't think Google's going to be able to do it. One, voter fraud, and then two, financially, that election made Google a lot of money. That election made Facebook a lot of money. And it's easy to say after the election cycle's over and you don't have to worry about it for 4 years. And that's plenty of time for people to forget what happened last time.
Right.
Yes. Go, look, we did all this great and wonderful stuff to fix it so that can't happen anymore.
Just sign into your AdWords account here, Russia, and pay us in rupees or rubles or whatever you guys use.
Yeah, honestly, if you look at it from a Google's perspective, I can go, hey, I just stopped it so that people in Russia can't advertise, or people in other countries can't advertise in the United States during the election period for election stuff. And we're monitoring that. And then Russia says, well, I just gave $500,000 to Billy Joe Bob, who's running PPC for me in San Diego now. And I just moved running my ads. So
it's not going to be so easy for Google to curb.
Yeah, Google's not going to be able to stop it.
A, they don't care. B, they have no impetus to do so.
Exactly.
C, they would have to use their semantic algorithms to detect and their sentiment analysis to detect the tone, the meaning of a message and the tone of a message. And then they're going to have to specifically make the decision that some political viewpoints are simply to be censored, which is another huge political and ethical quagmire.
Yeah. Which, corporations have no business censoring any political or any method of speech whatsoever. Obviously, they can express their views. They can do it through their platforms, get on it. That's what it's there for. But to silence other people just because you control a big button of traffic, then, there's users will riot, and then maybe the Republicans will, because we all know they're all Democrats, liberals.
Whoa, that's a whole nother show. I'm curious about what you mean by that, but I can't. Don't ask, John. Okay, so
it is.
So going back to artificial intelligence, not the fake intelligence we have in politics. So interesting that Google's going to try and they're already there, I think, pretty close to being there, to getting AI to understand videos and getting them to understand web pages. I'd like to hear your opinion about that, Clint. I think that even if they get Google to understand web pages like a human being, where it reads the page and it goes, okay, this page is about selling cars, whether or not it says selling cars anywhere on the page. I think pages that say selling cars are still going to outrank pages that don't say it, even though Google can now rank pages that don't say selling cars for the search query selling cars.
Yeah, I think it's going to be much the same. They're going to understand what the on-page is better, which means that our on-page, what I've been saying all along, is on-page is the most important. It's the foundation of your SEO campaign. It sucks. It's boring. I get it, but you got to do it. They're going to know that, but they're not going to have a score solely based on-page alone to say which one is better quality over the other. I don't think AI is going to be able to know that. Until it becomes Skynet time, and then we'll have AI running everything. So I think links are always going to matter. It's always going to be an important voting point, and then relevancy is going to carry on at that end traffic, which from everything that we've seen since the invention of rank spraying, it's pretty much that's how it's been going.
Rank spraying. As you can see, disclaimer: Clint is not a fan of the ranks brain. All right. So thank you very much. Now let's move on to the promised SEO audit section, or the site clinic section. Let's see here what we have in the chat. I will put the live chat on, and we'll see here. We got questions. Blah de blah de blah. Do de do de do. Let me see where there's finally a question that has anything to do with SEO. Oh yeah. Okay. So Kimberly asks us to look at some website. I don't even know if I can pronounce this. How to cure plantar fasciitis or something like this. .org. Okay. So like I said, if you have any sites you want us to take a look at, we will take a look at them. Kimberly Evans. Okay. Oh, how to cure plantar fasciitis. I'm assuming this is some kind of foot disease, some kind of foot fungus or something. So let's give her our best 10,000, 40,000 foot view SEO clinic. If you have your own site you want us to look at, we would happily do so. Okay, so here's the site here. My first thing I would say is how to cure this, whatever this is. This obviously should be your main search query. Let's see if this is an H1. It should be. It is an H1. Good. That's fantastic. The title is how to cure plantar fasciitis. Your title definitely should be a little bit more clickbaity. It should be like, wow, top 20 ways to cure, something like that. How to cure is not as clickbaity as like, wow, your top 20 ways or stuff like that, or your top 5 ways, or even just, wow, best cure for plantar fasciitis. Something, I know you're trying to rank for how to cure plantar fasciitis, or if you're not, you should be. And forgive me if I'm mispronouncing what plantar fasciitis is, but it should be a little more clickbaity in my opinion. Let me just do a very quick little check here. So if I do site colon, just see how many pages you got here. Only 29 results. Now, if I want to search what kind of competition you're looking at here, I want to see in quotations who is actually optimized for that query. Now I'll use my start 990 trick to get the actual amount. And there's a fair amount of these people. There's 150 pages, 144 pages that have actually optimized for the search phrase, how to cure plantar fasciitis. So you do have a lot of competition. So that is means you're gonna have to work on that.
You're trying to rank just the homepage. Is that what you're going for? That's a really good term. 29, 2,900 a month search volumes. Is that the page you want to rank? Was reading for? Yeah, it looks like it.
And if I fire up, it has a featured snippet. So if you can get your featured snippet code in there to get it working. If you don't know how to get featured snippet code, email me and I can maybe share that link with you of the proper way to do the code and to get to beat anyone else here as long as you're on page 1 or very close to the top of page 2. I don't see, for me, for SERPwork says it's only 75 cents a click, at least in Canada. Maybe there's a rule in Canada. You can't optimize for that, but WebMD, of course, is where they took the feature snippet from. You're gonna have to be dealing with, this is your money or your life, a YMYL query. You're gonna have to be dealing with Mayo Clinic, WebMD, all these big websites you're gonna have to be dealing with here with millions of links. Or thousands of links. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, Kimberly, but this is going to be a pretty hard query to rank for PAs of 50, 40. This is going to be difficult to rank for. You might have more success if you go so far as to, and you're an exact match domain, hitting the same keywords: how to cure plantar fasciitis, how to cure plantar fasciitis, how to cure plantar fasciitis. this might be a little difficult. I'm sure you're just kind of selling this ebook. You might even just be an affiliate for this ebook. I'm afraid you're gonna have to up your game. I don't know, Clint. What do you think about having the exact match domain and hitting the same keywords? From my testing, I know that is Clint frozen there. I think either Clint is really he's kind of frozen there. Maybe I don't know. From my testing, my experiments, I know that EMDs rank better in general than even subdomains and page names. But the problem with that is that Google gets very, very picky about what EMDs are going to put there. It's almost impossible that they would put EMD on a your money, your life query, quite frankly. Again, Kimberly, I'm very sorry. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't know how much luck you're going to have with this query. Clint, are you still there?
Yeah, the internet's just going in and out right now. So.
Sorry, buddy.
I'm looking at the her internal stuff, and her pages are all interlinked, which is great. But she's trying to rank her homepage, and none of her links that I can see just scanning through go to her homepage. So if you're trying to rank for the homepage for that term, then you need to use all your internal pages that you created and make sure the first paragraph of every one of those articles links to your homepage. That's the first thing, because she had it on page 3, and then she lost some backlinks. Which if she could get it up to page 3 with what she's doing already, I think she's got a really good, in my opinion, I think she's got a really good chance. One of the reasons my internet went out is because I'm running Cora at the same time for you, just to see if I can make some recommendations off of that. So that's why it was, I got 250 gigabytes per second or megabytes per second, but clearly that's not enough. So to run rank tracker software, Hangout, and Cora at the same time. So.
and broadcasting video at the same time,
Yeah.
that could be a problem. Okay, so Kimberly, let me see here. Here's a VideoBase. I did actually an audit on VideoBase last year. And as you can see in the chat there, he implemented my suggestions and rankings got much, much better, he says.
Nice.
Which is fantastic. So let's take a look here at what he's got now. It's a video production company. Let me see here. In Dublin. So it's kind of a modern design. He's got kind of a flash movie intro. He's why videos, you're selling videos. I kind of like this design. You've got your latest projects you've been working on. You got testimonials here. It's kind of an infinite scroll. You're showing here that you can do aerial photography as well. I think this, from a sales perspective, I'd have to look at your stats, but I think from a sales perspective, this is pretty good. In terms of selling what it is you do. It definitely has an energy to it that's going to probably help you sell. Let's just look at the nuts and bolts here for a second. Let's just look at, as far as Google's concerned, how many pages you got. Very small site, sales-based site. That's perfectly fine. You're probably trying to rank for Video Production Company Dublin. So let's check to see how much competition you have. I bet you not a lot. I'll use the start equals 990 trick again to see how many pages are actually optimized for that. Only about 70. 60 pages are optimized for that. That's actually quite a lot. But a lot of it is probably going to be garbage that has nothing to do with anything. So a company sex video, that's one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard of. Who would, if you think of all the people you work with in your company, that's the last thing you want to see. Okay, so, and if I want to see here, what SERPworks tells me, again, this is just .ca. You're going to be dealing with the map pack, so this is going to be some local SEO you got to do. Obviously, for local SEO, you want as many reviews as possible, as positive as possible. You want to fill in your Google My Business with free parking, giving them answer any kind of review, answer any kind of bad comment, trying to get rid of them. Do whatever you need to do. You want as many reviews as possible, as positive as possible. So here you are, ranking number 2 for Video Production Company Dublin. That's fantastic. And you're right in line with what your competitors have here. You've got the keywords on the page. That's good. That's going to help you. Your PA is 26. Theirs is 51, 30, 26, 34, 23, and 1 here. This is a new site. So this is all good, looking good stuff. So I'm glad you made those jumps, those bonuses after my audit from last year. So that's fantastic. I think things are looking pretty good. You could always make things a little bit better. As I recall checking here. Oh, well, I could have just done this to help you out. In case CTR is a ranking factor, here, I'll click your link there for you. There you go, boom. Video Production Company Dublin is your title. Again, that could be a little bit more sensational. It could be something along the lines of like, 2018's best video production company in Dublin, or get the top video production company Dublin. Something you can brag about would be fantastic. Again, it never hurts to have your title to be a little bit more clickbaity. Clint, were you able to find anything you want to comment on this site while I was rambling off there?
No, I didn't see anything. I agree with you on that, fixing that H1 there for sure. It's, obviously that's your keyword, but you want to make it make sense for someone when they're reading it. And right now it's just video production company. Well, so what? What's the purpose? Why do I care? Why am I going to read the next line? And right now there's no reason to read the next line.
Right. Even if you just leave that keyword to the very far left, because that does, in testing shows, it does give a slight boost. Even if after that you would say something along the lines of, voted Dublin's #1 company by so-and-so, or whatever you can brag about. And you have nothing to brag about, get something to brag about, right? Like voted Better Business Bureau's #1, or shown videos shown more times, or whatever you can brag about after that to make them go, ooh, and click it. That's definitely what it is you want to do. Okay, so let me check here to see. I have another lover of my show, Bruno Lazaro, who always comes on here whenever I start critiquing the Webmaster Trends top contributors, their little propaganda team there. Whenever I start critiquing these folks, this guy, or people like him, always start to come on. And he asks, I'm actually going to ask his question on the live on air. He says, why do SEO specialists, ostensibly he's talking about Clint and I, why do SEO specialists brag so much about being able to rank other people's websites, and yet they can't rank their own website? I don't have a website I'm trying to rank. And so the reason why I can't do all these things is because I'm too busy ranking other people's websites. That's why. It's like every web design company that has a terrible web design themselves, but they're doing really good web design for everybody else. The proof is in the pudding, buddy. Like I said, for every negative review I get like this, I can show 5 comments of people loving my videos, having good success with my audits, et cetera, et cetera. So,
yeah, I think that's actually a good point. It's coming, honestly, it's a legitimate question, honestly, that
it is.
Clients should answer, and you should be, if you're going to have an SEO agency, you should be prepared for that. I run digitalear.com, but I also it's not my primary agency. My primary agency is kicking ass in the SERPs, but you're right. We don't have the time, because you 30, 40 clients, you're managing that, you're managing the team. You don't have time to do your own SEO sometimes. And if it comes to doing your own or doing the clients, you're always going to do the clients unless you're an asshole, which in my case, it sounds like, or in Bruno's case, if he's asking that question and he's an SEO, then I guess he's an asshole.
It sounds like he has a high proficiency in assholism.
Exactly.
So hats off, Bruno. We admit, we doff our caps. You are the bigger asshole here. we
Something to be proud of.
To you, sir.
Put that on your website.
Bruno, why are you like a coward asking me questions? Anyone who doesn't like me gives me the thumbs down. Anyone who comes on here, the person running the Helena account, my girlfriend who always comes on here and has negative things to say, I challenge you motherfuckers to come onto the show and debate us like someone with some courage, and actually have a friendly debate.
Yeah.
about your views.
We're not the smartest people in SEO, not by any means. There's plenty of people smarter than us. You know, you bring Mike and Brad on here, and they kick our asses every week that they show up. But we're also smart enough to know that we don't know everything, and we're not going to just berate you and come onto your show and talk shit in your chat like a little spineless bastard. You know, if you want to, we'll give you the live link now. You can come right on and talk to us. But
that would be fantastic.
and I'm wearing a black hat, so I can say all that stuff. Josh,
not true. I have to be a nice white hat.
that's his job.
That's funny you say that, because I was having this conversation with Mike the other day, and someone gave him a similar comment and said, well, you know, why is risk mitigation your number one SEO strategy? Shouldn't it be? He was asked, what is your number one SEO strategy? And he said risk mitigation. And I agreed. I said risk mitigation. And they're like, well, why risk mitigation? I said, because our SEO knowledge, this was in typing, our SEO knowledge not equal 100%, right? If you understand JavaScript, you know what I said. No SEO on 100% understands the ranking algorithms. If they say they do, they're delusional, or they're bragging, or they're just being facetious or something like that. You know, I have a good level of knowledge from both experimental and down to all the rumors, and all the contacts I have even more knowledge. We're a team of SEOs, and I quite frankly, I challenge any other SEO to come on here. This is the last I'll say about this, and I'll move on. I'll challenge any SEO to come on here. I'll challenge any SEO agency to come on here. I'll challenge anybody to come on here and ask us any questions they want. Any SEO questions we can answer, or we can get the answer. We know what we're talking about here when it comes to SEO.
And if you know what you're talking about, come on and share it. Why not highlight your knowledge and put your face out there? Honestly, how long, Josh, it has been since I actually put my face out there, and you brought me onto this show, and I started doing it. Chase, you know, him and I disagree, but that dude, he goes out there and puts his face out there and does the right thing. John Mueller, we don't like him, but he puts his face out there. It's his job, but he puts his face out there and does it and makes statements. So, you know, if you disagree with
a little bit, just a little bit of ire and people yelling at him and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So if you know, if you think you're so damn smart, then put your face out there. We want the competition, or we want people to come on and talk to us, because, you know, everybody gets to learn from it. I'll gladly learn from anyone. If it's making me money, it's making my clients money, then I'd be a dumbass to ignore your points of view. So
yeah, for sure.
That's my
I could talk more about this, because it kind of keys in, and I'm not going to. It kind of keys into the culture we're in, this kind of vicious social media culture where everyone just kind of, like a coward, has no balls to say anything in anyone's face, but will gladly make vicious, mean girl style comments on social media. It really is quite disgusting, actually. But
yeah, well, people will make comments on social media that if they did it in real life would get punched in the face for. So
yeah,
that's the way, you know, they think they're safe. But, you know, one day you're going to be walking around in the neighborhood and you're going to say something on social to somebody, and this is a small world, and you're going to get punched in the face. So
this is a friendly warning, that reminder: social media behavior is not appropriate in actual life.
Yeah.
Just in case you're starting to forget that. Okay, moving on. Luciano Ribeiro asks, "Hey Josh, recently doing audits on some websites in the web design area. I figured out having a lot of images appears to boost ranking. Period."
Yeah, I seen that too because I was working on Digital Era and just kind of testing out some web design and ranking in my city, because I like those projects. They're really easy for me. Having a lot of imagery works not only in the SEO phase, but it also works in the conversions, because people are looking for something pretty. So if you show off the pretty stuff, it kind of works, which in turn does your on-page metric stuff, the Google track and the bounce rate and all that other madness. So so that's one thing that does it. And also, if you do a analysis of their anchor text, you'll be surprised about something, and see how much is the exact match anchor and where those are coming from and what Google thinks that those are appropriate for web design. So check that out.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting issue, because John Mueller, speaking of John Mueller, he gets asked this question quite often. You know, I'm a web design company and I put designed by so-and-so web design company in the footer all the time. Should I be doing this? And, you know, he says, no, you shouldn't be doing it. But quite frankly, you know, it makes perfect sense to put a link like that at the bottom of web pages that you design. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And if you happen to get in trouble by the manual team, just say, hey, well, look it. Fine. Then discredit them all. Why are you giving me a manual action for this? That'd be a manual action I think you can get out of pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think so too. Ted, he's actually running tests right now. He's actually doing a couple pages for me, seeing what site-wide footers do, and he's got data that shows that those are awesome. And I've looked at 50 cities for web design terms, looking at the top 100 sites, not using Coro. Actually, I had to go through and actually look at and using Ahrefs. And you'll be surprised at the anchor text mix that everyone tells us is bad. Even I know that for most of the keywords is bad, but in web design, you can do exact MAC anchors up to 35% in some cities and get away with it. So
evidently, because they're ranking there. Yeah. It's risk mitigation versus what everyone else is doing, which is how far you want to push it versus what is all your other SEO based on. I don't know if you have webdesign.com, I don't know, it starts to get pretty specific, pretty spammy, but Kimberly Evans asks here, do you guys use event tracking for bounce rate? Yes, Kimberly, I certainly do. And in fact, today, the Hangout's kind of slow today. You guys can put more sites in the chat that you want us to take a look at it. Ask us more SEO questions.
Yeah,
this is supposed to be a show about SEO, not a show about mean girls who come on here.
These are great. I'm all pumped up now. Let's go.
Let's go.
We need Bruno to show up every week.
Ask us more SEO questions. Give us more sites here to look at in the chat here. We want to help you guys out more. We want to give you more information. Let me help you guys out with something else here. Let me find it first in my notes here.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'll answer the metadata question because that's an easy one. On your site, I rip all the excess off of my website, so for the page speed. And Google, your schema should be telling where the addresses are, and et cetera. And that's the purpose of keeping the metadata in your images on Photoshop. So what I do as a standard practice is we create the image, we add all the excess and the IPTC data to it, which is the name, address, phone number, website, all your keywords. You can put all of that crap inside of your JPEGs. And then we upload it to our sites. Our sites strip it out with WP Smoosh Pro. And then we take those same images and put them on Google Photos, Google Plus, Flickr, any other place that does not strip the excess data out or lets you geotag it. And that's where you're going to get the value of doing that. So it's a yes/no answer for video based. It's yes, do it, but no, you don't want that on your website because that's not giving you any value. It's the third-party links to your site from that data that's doing it.
Okay, so to answer, thank you very much, Clint. To answer Kimberly's question, let me share with you. I've never shared this before, just globally, so I'll share with you guys. It's kind of a slow day, so I'll share with you guys. Here is an actual shot here of my email. Here is what I would use to do advanced title page panda tracking. Here's the problem with Google Analytics, not Tag Manager. Tag Manager, you have to do something different. This is for the old style Google Analytics. What you want to, the problem with that is that it does not track one-page visits. If you ever looked in your Google Analytics and saw time on page of 0.00000, and you're like, how does that happen? How does it 0 seconds? That's because Google did not get another firing of the GA function, which is the actual JavaScript that fires Google Analytics. That's why it's called GA. That tells them it fired once at 14 minutes and it fired again at 16 minutes. And they do the math and they say, oh, he was there for 2 minutes. So that's why you have to get GA in old school Google Analytics. You have to get it to fire every 10 or 5 seconds or so you can get a rough estimate now of one-page visits. So here's the code you would actually use. You would use this line here. There's a JavaScript method, setInterval, and you would pass it GA send event. I would do 5 seconds, and I would set it at 5,000 milliseconds, which will set it for 5 seconds. I will put this actual line. All you have to do is copy it. If you're using their old school Google Analytics, all you have to do is copy and paste this JavaScript line into the bottom of your JavaScript code right before when it says script. I will put this in the chat. Just make sure that it pastes the quotations properly. There's not a font problem. I will put it here in the description. Sadly, I can't edit the description. JS code I was talking about. Here it is in the description. Just make sure it pastes properly. It might not. And then I will go back to viewing this on the watch page. Here we go. Good. So one other thing I'll tell you now, if you put this code in, I will warn you though, it's going to change around your bounce rate. Your bounce rate is going to get messed around. What's going to happen is that your bounce rate is now going to be a factor of who bounced before 5 seconds. So if you leave it at 5,000 milliseconds, which is 5 seconds, right? Because it's 1,000 milliseconds in a second. Or you can change that to 10, you can change that to 15, whatever you like. I like 5 because I like to keep it pretty quick, so I get better stats on who stayed and how long they stayed. So, but if you do that and your bounce rate suddenly going to plummet from like 70% to like 7%, that means 7% of people on average on your site bounce before 5 seconds elapse. That actually is not a great stat, right? A great stat, you don't want 7% of people bouncing before 5 seconds is even passed on your site. If you see that, after you install that set interval code and your bounce rate drops from like 70% to like 15%, that means 15% of people bounced on average before 5 seconds passed. Do you honestly think, and remember that JavaScript code is loading in the head section, so that is processing before they even paint the document object model, right? That's loading before the page even renders. So do you honestly think, so that's long before the user starts playing with it. Do you honestly think the 2 seconds they were able to see it, they were able to answer their question? So that starts to tell you a very valid and a very important quality problem with your site, that if you have like 15% bounce rate before 5 seconds, that's a huge issue. So just keep in mind, if you paste that set interval code in and start using it in the old school Google Analytics, I have a different code for Google Tag Manager. Email me and I'll get you the code for Google Tag Manager. This is for old school Google Analytics. When you paste that in, now your numbers are all going to change. Your time on page is going to change drastically. You're going to be, why? Because now we're tracking one page visits where we were not tracking them before. That's the great thing. 1, 2, now it's going to be your bounce rate in Google Analytics is going to be a factor of who bounces before 5 seconds. You never really wanted to use your bounce rate out of Google Analytics anyway. Always what you wanted to do was go to user flow and check the drop-off rate and see who's dropping off your pages and leaving the site and at what stage in their browsing experience, index page, category page, product page, see the drop-off rate in all of those, and then make a calculation about what pages you need to start fixing to retain your traffic. So
there's a code in Google Tag Manager that does that as well. And I'll add on to what you said, specifically for the time. I use this. I used to use the old code. Now I use Tag Manager to do the same thing. But what we do instead is we get actual people to go, hey, go to the website. This is what the purpose of the website is. I want you to go through the purpose and see how long it takes them to actually figure it out. So on my site, it's 30 seconds that you should be clicking something. If I got your attention for at least 30 seconds, then you're good. If you didn't, then you bounced. So mine is set for 30, and you should do that with yours. I think having it at 5, in my opinion, is really low because you're not going to get any intelligence out of that.
Well, what I love about that is that I don't know about Google Tag Manager, but old school Google Analytics, if you have an event firing, they will automatically update the time on page. So I can just natively out of the box, once I have that code installed, I can go to user flow in Google Analytics and I can click on here, I'll show you here. Let me show you. Why not give a Google Analytics tutorial? This is one of the most underused and best features in Google Analytics for SEO, for your sales, for everything. I'm about to completely blow your mind if you've never seen this. Let me see. Let me go to all accounts. Let me just pick a website here. What website should I show you? Let me show you this one. Do I still have access to this site? This is a very old client. Is this site getting any traffic? Audience overview. Nope. I don't think this site is getting any traffic. Okay, Clint, talk about something while I try and find a website I could show.
Come on, you know SEO your own sites? What's wrong with you?
I have too many clients here I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't show client sites either. I'd never do that. So.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to find one here that's not going to be a problem.
I do this in Tag Manager. Kimberly said there's a Stephanie Hormel for Tag Manager, a listener code. You could try it. I did it when Tag Manager was brand new and there was more intuitive features inside of there. Google stripped some things out. and then added more stuff. So that tool changed dramatically from the time that I got certified in it to the time to now. So you just got to play with it and find the current updated tutorial. And then once you get it done the first time, you can actually copy those for every site. So you can make one set inside a tag manager that does all your schema, that does your conversion tracking, sets up your conversion pixels and all that stuff. And then if you are using that same data or that same setup, those same pixels, etc., on different sites and stuff, you just duplicate that in Tag Manager, and you can use that on as many sites as you want. So that's another good feature.
Okay, so here's a website with a small amount of traffic that I could show you. They get 10,000 users a month, or no, a week, sorry. So it's not a lot of traffic. I work on much bigger sites typically, but 10,000 users a week is pretty darn good for this vertical. I won't mention what it is. What I'm talking about here is user flow. You click on user flow, and here, this is the most underutilized and probably the best thing in Google Analytics, period. You can see where all the traffic is coming on, first off, and you can see where they go to. And look, they have a blog, and all this traffic is going to a blog. But where do they go after the blog? They barely go anywhere. From 3,000 people to the blog, it's like we have like 200 people going on to the rest of the site. This is probably why I told them to get rid of the blog. And this is why blogs are not used for SEO in this way. Blogs are used to filter link juice, as Clint expertly mentioned, if you know what you're doing. Anyway, so this is what you would do. Now that the set interval code is loaded, I can go to group details, and this is the actual time on page for these pages. And I can see what the drop-off rate is. So right away, now because it's a blog, in this case, this is a bad example because you would expect most people to be leaving. You would hope they wouldn't. You would hope they stay on your site and buy something. But in this case, they're getting the proper maintenance of the Rolex watch, and then they're leaving, right? And so these people are paying thousands of dollars a month to educate the world for free with absolutely almost no value whatsoever because some SEO guy told him 5 years ago to do this, despite my telling him to stop.
It's almost like they had a video show every week.
Right. But what's not so good is that the average time, now this is a real average time now of how long people stayed on average on these pages. 36 seconds is not great, to find out what the proper maintenance of Rolex. Was this really long enough to learn? I'm not sure. I could also go here to the index page, the sales pages. The average, they stay 55 seconds on average. That's not too bad. The drop-off rate for the index page is pretty good. It's only 40%, although it's terrible. Like you don't want, out of 10 people who walk up to your store, you don't want, I'll make this a little bit bigger. Maybe it's easier to see. You don't want 4 people out of 10 who walk up to your brick and mortar store to look in the window and go, ooh, this place is ugly, and turn around and get back in their car. You do not want that, right? But that's exactly what these guys got here on the index page. But if I keep on looking, 31% drop off on Rolex watches on a sales page. It's not too bad. Product pages, but the product pages start telling a different story. Look at the high drop off rate and a relatively low time. 1 minute's not too bad. I usually see worse than that, but
for a product page, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. A minute, yeah, to sell them, but this is a really high drop off rate. This is not.
That tells me their copywriting sucks.
Yeah, there's and let me see here. Shop, where's their thank you page? There's no shopping cart. I don't see shopping cart in here. I don't see thank you page in here. I should see the thank you page for making purchases show up in here by the second or third interaction. I'm not seeing that either. So this is a great tool to use to, at a glance, I can tell you how healthy this website is and how well they're doing. And we can zero in on sales problems and SEO problems rather quickly just by using that one little tool. And if you've got that set interval code installed on the old Google Analytics, it'll give you, in that screen, it'll give you the real time on page and not the time on page excluding one page visits. So let's see, do we have any other questions here that people want to talk about?
One more.
No, it's kind of a lazy day. All right, so that's fantastic. That's the show for today. I want to thank Clint for fighting his power problems to come here and discuss white hat versus black hat SEO. I would like to thank everyone for watching. If you have any other SEO questions, by all means, send them to me. at joshbashinsky@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at joshbashinsky. And you can watch more videos like this where we give leaks, we give experience, we give tips, we give tutorials, we give tactics, and anything SEO that you would possibly want to see at youtube.com/jbashins, JBACHYNS. Clint, do you have any final words today?
No, I just want to, again, reiterate, if you have knowledge or you think ours sucks, then come on and let's have a, legitimate conversation about it. Maybe we'll learn something. I want to learn something, and if we partake some of our knowledge to you guys or you partake it to us, then let's go for it. There's no reason that, we can have 10 people on here debating something. I think that would be cool. So Josh and I can talk to each other until they're blue in the face eventually. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the past, we really have had quite a lot of people on here. Kimberly asked Clint, could you tell me how to create PBNs? Maybe you could do a PBN special next week.
I don't like showing how I do that because then everyone does it that way, and then
then Google finds it.
But the short Reader's Digest version is make a real website. Find a good domain, make a real website out of it. Don't go lazy and don't use the Wayback Machine and recreate the websites, but you can find expired domains and recreate that content, present it in a better way, update it, and make a real website. And now you have a real PBN that people are going to like and enjoy as well. So
that's the Cole's Notes version. I don't know. Kimberly, I'll work on them. I'll work on it for you. I'll try and twist his rather meaty large arm and get him to maybe give us maybe a little bit of a presentation how to do it. He can leave out some of the really juicy bits, but maybe give us something of an idea. Okay. So I'll work on it, Kimberly. Don't worry. And you email him too, and maybe you can work on him. You seem like a nice person. So and you could tell us how to properly pronounce Fasciitis or whatever that thing was you're doing with your website. So again, this has been the White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. Thank you very much. Thanks for all the questions, guys. Tune in next week at either noon or around 1 p.m. where we will have another SEO show with more SEO goodies for you, with SEO guests and all kinds of SEO knowledge. SEMrush recently put out a new feature which looks really, really cool for local SEO. So I'm going to get SEMrush back on the show at some point, and we get to see some of that stuff too. And as I always say every week, good luck in the SERP. So see you guys later, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.